Hello and welcome to The Report, Cal State Fullerton's premier source for news, views, and info. I'm Abby Fernandez.
I'm Romina Camacho.
And I'm Nicolas Garcia. On today's episode, we'll be discussing the ACLU's lawsuit against President Trump's travel ban, as well as an update on the water crisis in Flint, Michigan.
Plus, we'll be bringing you the latest on the Dakota Access Pipeline, as well as some local stories, including the police officer who was shot and killed in the line of duty in Whittier.
Also, I'll be bringing you a report on the racial justice and policing presentation that was held on campus recently.
All this and more on today's episode of The Report. Before we delve into our first hot topic, we'd like to invite you to be a part of the discussion this semester season. Click on the link in the caption of any of our report episodes to fill out a secure Google form with your opinion on any controversial issue that we've talked about now or in the past, as many of these issues are recurring and evolving, ranging from gun control to abortion, climate change, or the state of politics right now. All we ask is to please keep it civil.
The American Civil Liberties Union has raised over $24 million in online donations and added 150,000 new members since President Donald Trump passed an executive order called the travel ban, which keeps refugees and immigrants from 7 Muslim-majority countries from entering the United States. ACLU filed a class action lawsuit challenging the travel ban. There are several cases on the way, including New York, Massachusetts, and Maryland. Currently, there is another lawsuit in the works, ready to protest the minute Trump tries to allow federal government employees and agencies the right to discriminate in the areas of LGBT and reproductive rights under the guise of religious freedom, according to ACLU. Since the election, the organization has reached over $79 million in new online contributions. They plan to spend over $40 million to build up state offices and $13 million toward grassroots member mobilization program. In addition, $24 million will go to hire new lawyers, advocates, and other staff in the ACLU headquarters. ACLU Executive Director Anthony Romero said there is no limit to how big a resistance to Trump we can build at ACLU. It is our mission, our mandate, to rise to that challenge again. With your help, we will continue to do so. So now I ask you, and I want you to talk to me about the significance of the money that was raised. I mean, $79 million in, donations. And also, I want you to tell me, what do you think about the allocation of this money? Do you think that there's maybe other sources where it could have possibly gone to? Nick, what do you think?
I think that it's impressive. $79 million is very impressive. And I think it's a huge statement against the Trump administration and what some of his cabinet members might stand for. That said, I think that maybe the money could have been allocated a little differently. I think that maybe a little more could have gone to grassroots. Other than that, I think that it was a good allotment of money. But $14 million for grassroots movements is a little small. I know it's grassroots, but they should be pumping up more money in that. That's ultimately where change happens, from the bottom up.
I think so,
that
too.
That would be my focus.
I think that the $40 million to build these state offices, right, so they'd be sort of allocated amongst the states. I mean, I just question, what would they be? Are they information sort of booths? I mean, what kind of service are they going to provide to us, the people that want to go out there? So I think maybe the $40 million would sort of question that. Where is that $40 million really going to? But other than that, I think that the other $24 million is certainly reasonable to hire new lawyers, right, advocates. These people get paid a lot of money, right? Yeah. So that certainly seems appropriate. What do you think, Romina?
Well, to be honest, I mean, $40-something million on real estate, it's basically not a lot, considering that, prices for rent and, real estate, it's really high, especially in, certain areas like Los Angeles. Take a look, like offices rank for like thousands of dollars a month for rent. So if you really think about it, and if they're trying to implement more offices where the community needs it, I think it's basically not a lot in reality. But, grassroots should be a little bit more because we need to take care of the people as well. So,
Flint, Michigan is home to nearly 99,000 residents, where 41.27% live below the poverty line, and the median household income is $25,000, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Finding a solution to Flint's water crisis has been an ongoing battle since April 2014. In January of 2017, a 6-month study showed Flint water lead levels decreased below federal limits, according to the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality. As a result of more than 1,700 residents impacted by the crisis, a $722 million class action lawsuit was filed against the EPA. As of today, protests continue in response to the crisis, and there has been much discussion that the continuance of the Flint water crisis is a result of systemic racism, being that the city of Flint is 57% African American. State Senator Jim Ananich, a Democrat from Flint, said, quote, "The presence of racial bias in the Flint water crisis isn't much of a surprise to those of us who live here. But the Michigan Civil Rights Commission's affirmation that the emergency manager law disproportionately hurts communities of color is an important reminder of just how bad the policy is." End quote. Many argue that if it was a white and rich area, there would have been something done a long time ago. But the 129-page report of the Michigan Civil Rights Commission does not claim there were any specific violations of state civil rights laws. So how do we feel about that? Do we feel like civil rights were violated in the Flint water crisis?
So I do feel, because, we talked about the poverty situation, we talked about it being a majority African-American sort of city, I do see where they're coming from, right? In this, we said if it was a white, rich area, it would have been dealt with immediately. Certainly, I do agree with that. I think so too. But we also have to acknowledge the fact that they have HOA stuff, and they have sort of organizations that deal with this kind of stuff. And because at Flint, they don't have anything like that. It's a poor city, right? No one's going to take care of it if it's not immediate. I do see and understand that if it had been treated, it should have been done already, right? And that's the question of why hasn't it been? It's been a couple of years now. I mean, what's going on?
Absolutely.
Yeah, honestly, it's been a long time already. I remember 2015, everyone was, so mad about it, and now, it's coming now to like, oh, we forgot about it, or,
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is, what happened? The situation in Flint has not changed, virtually at all, and it kind of faded away from the headlines, and why is that?
Yeah, but, I would say, election time came around. The media basically got, so involved with this candidate that, was, all over the place, and now we forgot about it, but I think that, if the community still tries to get their point across, they can do it. They can get that assistance. Because if we remember, Michigan voted in the election for Trump majority. So there's got to be something,
Absolutely.
for that.
I think so too. I mean, I hope that these people get the help they need, because bacteria in your, fecal bacteria in your water. I mean, that's water is a necessity, and we certainly need to be looking at, and certainly we need to be looking at other stories, right? So in North Dakota, the water protections at the Oseti-Sakowin resistant camp are facing an evacuation deadline on February 22nd as the fight continues against the $3.8 billion Dakota Access Pipeline. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum ordered the evacuation. Water protectors are currently cleaning up the Oseti-Sakowin camp ahead of the anticipated seasonal flooding of the area. Some water protectors are asking for more time to continue the cleanup. However, the Standing Rock Sioux tribe has filed a fresh legal challenge to the Dakota Access Pipeline, asking a federal judge in Washington, D.C. to block an easement allowing construction on the final leg of the project. The lawsuit came a day after a judge threw out a separate legal challenge calling for a temporary restraining order against the construction. The legal fight came as a top executive with the company building the Dakota Access Pipeline on Wednesday compared his opponents to terrorists.
On February 13, the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, with the help from Student Affairs and the Center for Public Policy, hosted a presentation which discussed racial justice and policy. Let's take a look.
I told him not to reach for it. I told him to get his hand out.
You shot 4 bullets into him, sir.
In an effort to better understand why scenes like this have been happening in recent months, the Department of Criminal Justice at Cal State Fullerton held an open panel to talk about racial justice.
People sometimes forget that for about 350 years, the police were the mechanism for enforcing racial inequality. but they can't continue to use blanket policies like aggressive stop and frisk or broken windows policing, because both those things have already been determined to be ineffective.
Dr. Ferdala explains that the use of stop and frisk might not be as effective as some may think.
We don't know what the value of stop and frisk is in terms of preventing crime. Stop and frisk, when it is used aggressively, when it is used as a proxy for race, that is what is not effective. But whether good stop and frisk, whether effective stop and frisk that is not guided by racial bias and instead is guided exclusively by looking for more objective evidence of crime, that might be very good policing. That might help actually reduce crime. There are other cities in the United States beside New York. In fact, the whole nation over the last 20 years or so, has seen a dramatic decrease in crime. Crime is down across the country, including in plenty of jurisdictions that never used a racial-based stop and frisk program.
And what is the police doing to ensure the community can trust them again?
Having open and honest dialogues about race and about biases, and having understanding that the injustices that have occurred previously we can't undo. We're ensuring that we're hiring quality applicants, that they have no issues within their background. We're making sure that our officers are adequately trained and they get training with respect to biases, and they're performing their duties constitutionally, and it's never going to go away. It's not going to, we've done all these things and tomorrow it's going to be done. It's always going to be a challenge, but the beginning of that is just having the understanding that we are different. These injustices have occurred, and we're not trying to make an excuse. We're flawed because we're human, and we're going to work together to make it better.
A Fullerton woman was arrested on suspicion of setting multiple fires in the community since September 2016. There has been a total of 28 fires in the city since September of last year, and 14 of them happened in the 1200 block of North Gilbert Street. Authorities were suspicious of the ongoing fires, and the Fullerton officers set up surveillance, which led to the conviction of 24-year-old Esther Cha. It was around 3:50 a.m. when Cha was unsuccessful in setting 2 fires on North Gilbert Street. Officers arrested Cha on suspicion of arson with a $1 million bail.
Memorial services for a Whittier police officer took place this February at Rose Hills Memorial Park. The remains of Officer Keith Boyer were taken from the coroner's office and was accompanied by fellow law enforcement. Boyer was killed in a shootout by Michael Mejia after the officers responded to a car accident in Whittier on a Monday morning. Boyer was a 27-year-old veteran of the Whittier Police Department, slated for retirement. Our thoughts are with the Boyer family and the Whittier Police Department.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode. Don't forget, you too can be a part of the conversation. You can comment below or ask us some questions. Don't forget to tune in next time around for more news, views, and info. I'm Abby Fernandez.
I'm Romina Camacho.
And I'm Nicholas Garcia. Stay fresh, Fullerton.